HBO and Warner Brothers has been taking bullets in social media recently with the race swap casting of Snape in the Harry Potter series coming out. But I think HBO Warner Brothers may have bigger problems on its hands, and we're going to get into that as it relates to the upcoming Superman movie. We're going to do that right now in the Sundowners Club. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And we've got a little bit to talk about today around Warner Brothers and HBO. As you might have seen on social media, Harry Potter fans are going crazy over the Snape casting, where they have done what we call race swap casting. And it certainly is a lightning rod for not only those who look at those types of social issues around movies and what individuals are cast in what roles when they do what's called race swapping, but also the people that are really tuned into being faithful to source material as it's written by J.K. Rowling. And the bigger question around HBO and Warner Brothers is, one, can they afford to make a misstep with Harry Potter? But there's been some articles in the last few days that I want to get into that just show you how dire it might be for Warner Brothers and how critical Superman is going to play a role in the future of Warner Brothers. And we're going to get into that. I want to cite an article by Garth Franklin over at Dark Horizons. It's a very good site. Go check them out. They have all types of movie and streaming news. And Sterling, we've talked a lot about Warner Brothers, and there's been some articles by Puck News and commented on by different outlets around the trouble at Warner Brothers right now and how Superman is going to fare in the survival of failure of Warner Brothers. So I want to get your opinion, first of all, as we lead into this story around where Warner Brothers is right now before Superman comes out. You know, we had the $200+ million budgeted Joker sequel that just fell on its face and led to huge losses for the studio. And now we have a movie coming out, Mickey 17, which is going to lose at least $30 to $50 million. We don't know the full tally yet, but it looks like it's coming up far short when you involve production and marketing. And then we've got a Ryan Coogler vampire movie, Sinners, which looks like it went over budget and needs to open strongly for them to have a chance at making money. And finally, we've got Paul Thomas Anderson and Maggie Gyllenhaal have an original film that's $100+ million budget on the way. And so there's a lot of pressure right now for Warner Brothers leading up to Superman. So first, let me stop right there. Give me the lay of the land, because you've been following Warner Brothers for a few years now. You were not a fan of David Zaslav when he came in. Before we get to Superman and its role coming up this summer, give me the lay of the land of Warner Brothers and where they are financially and as a company.
I mean, to give you an idea, they were bought in 2018 by AT&T for $85 billion. 4 years later, AT&T spun them off with Discovery, sold them off for about $43 billion. So in 4 years, they've lost half their value. And it was already a disaster at that point. You saw the DC universe was pretty much dead. The movies were flopping. Their streaming service was getting ready to launch, but wasn't, very successful. Their game company has tanked, and essentially they have three pillars of their business. One is the big box office experience. The other is the streaming service, and then the third is gaming. And they have failed on all three segments. And if you look at the mistakes that they've made, I mean, we just talked about the Harry Potter casting. That's something that could really grow your streaming service if you do that well.
Absolutely.
But I mean, I think they've gotten to the point where, you've probably angered more than half your fans. You certainly made it where people aren't going to subscribe to that service to watch that show. And that's exactly what they need. So, you look at gaming. I mean, they've went all in on the live service stuff. They've had, progressive activists ruin their game business. That combined with the push for live service. So I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that, if Superman doesn't do well and the DC universe does not become, if it doesn't launch a series of hits, there's no doubt. I think they'll have to go bankrupt or sell to somebody else.
Well, Warner Brothers Discovery has been cutting costs everywhere, but not as much with Warner Brothers. And you've got the current studio co-chiefs, Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi. They've been greenlighting these, like Mickey 17 and Paul Thomas Anderson, these more independent films, none of which are doing good at the box office right now. It's hard enough to get people to even go to the theaters versus you're spending $100+ million on these independent movies and releasing them and expecting people to go. And so, you've got DeLuca and Pam Abdi who, could be on the way out the door. And so the question then becomes, do they turn around and hand the reins to Peter Safran, who's the current DC Studios co-chair? But then that begs the question, if Superman doesn't do well, will Safran even be there?
I mean, Zaslav has done an awful job, and
Horrible.
Granted, he took the reins over from somebody who was also doing a terrible job. But I mean, you need someone that's hands-on. I mean, there should be somebody who looks at those casting decisions in Harry Potter, and we're just getting started. I can guarantee you they're going to butcher the rest of the cast too. There needs to be
coming. Yeah.
There needs to be someone that comes in there and says, "Hey, this is unacceptable. Like, this needs to be a hit." And they don't have anybody that's doing that right now. And I think they're worth like $25 billion. I mean, just think about that. In 2018, they were worth $85 billion. So they've lost, $60 billion.
70+% of your market value gone.
And just the past few years. And that's insane.
And that's to your point. Jeff Snyder at the Insider, want to point out Jeff Snyder, who typically has good work. And then Puck News, they're saying some of the same things around that DeLuca and Abdi may be out and who could take over, and Superman being critical. And the source with Puck News is saying that with the Superman movie coming out this summer, there is genuine fear, quote, that the studio will go the way of Fox if it does not succeed. So Fox,
that's an IP goldmine, though. I mean, Superman,
absolutely.
Batman, DC Comics. I don't think they actually own Harry Potter and Game of Thrones, but they do have deals with them, to make their products exclusively. Same thing. They just did a big contract with for Lord of the Rings, right? So, yeah. I mean, you have all these things that you've spent tons of money on, but at the end of the day, you're a media company that's producing content that no one wants to see.
Right.
And, that's until they make good content, it's all irrelevant.
Look, it remains to be seen whether the vampire movie from Ryan Coogler is a success. It's not out yet. Mickey 17, we're already starting to get the numbers. It's not good at all. And then we got the Paul Thomas Anderson movie. So it remains to be seen whether the Paul Thomas Anderson movie and the Ryan Coogler movie, don't lose much money or break even. Like, those numbers aren't out yet because
those things should have smaller budgets, though.
Absolutely should have smaller budgets.
Those are they have no name behind them.
How do you let the Ryan Coogler movie go way over budget? Who's managing that? And then Paul Thomas Anderson, giving him over $100 million is just insane. So it puts a lot of pressure on Superman. And keep in mind, everybody, that this is not a $100 million movie. Superman has to make at least $800+ million before it hits video and streaming and all that to have any chance of making any money. It's not going to be, hey, let's make $400 million at the box office and it's a hit. This movie needs to be, I'm going to go ahead and say it needs to make $1 billion for them to feel successful with it. And that's hard, even if it's in a good movie. So they're up against it. What do you think? Are you one of those people that's angry with the snake casting with Harry Potter? Are you looking forward to Superman? Have you tuned everything with Warner Brother out like some of these other studios that have done bomb after bomb after bomb? What are your thoughts around it? Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. While you're doing that, smash that like button, share this video out with your friends, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel so we can continue to grow and bring you the latest. And TCB.